Hello, my name is Diane Eisner and I'm the Director of Growth for Waze. For anyone who doesn't know, Waze is the free crowdsourced navigation and real-time traffic application. Our goal is to save 5 minutes a day, every day, for our more than 50 million users around the world. With so many Wazers driving around every day, we have an unprecedented amount of traffic, speeds, routes, incidents, and closure. Our cities, though, are congested. Our mobility solutions are expensive and they're static. We need solutions for now, an on-demand world at the speed of mobile that can adapt to our rapidly changing mobility patterns. So today, I'm going to share a program that we recently started to use all of the data we're able to collect from those users around the world as a way to improve mobility in our most congested cities. We call this the Connected Citizens Program. So we share publicly available data on incidents and closures, and we feed that into the cities. In exchange, we get their incidents and closures. So for us, it's critical that we're not going to be the app sending people over the closed bridge, and this is a very difficult problem to solve. The premise is we can save not just individuals 5 minutes a day, but look at the city as a whole.
In Rio de Janeiro, Brazil, traffic is a very important issue. We have almost 7 million people here, going from A to B to C to D. From the first phone call that we have, 2 weeks later, we were there inside of Waze application with APIs, bringing to the operations center every information that we agreed to share.
We have the channel, we have the data, and we need to shorten the distance between the citizens and the city hall.
With 400,000 Wazers in Rio de Janeiro, 50,000 users every day, it's like we have an army of public agents talking to us. As many Wazers that we have, the more this number grows, more efficient and more deeply this tool will work.
So it's important to us that we're looking at mobility patterns around the world as we collaborate in these solutions. So you can see here that we have a really pretty good geographic spread. More than 50 million users. In Rio alone, which you just saw, we have more than 150,000 every day. And the Connected Citizens program is now live in 32 cities and DOTs. So the data that we're sharing and receiving, it's usually the closures that are due to things like construction, protests, marathons, parades, and incidents like traffic itself and accidents. Also, what are the unusual things that are happening on the road in real time? Is there a change, a drastic change in the speed in which people are driving or the patterns in which they're driving? Hazards such as ice, flooding, anything that's needed to stay safe and informed on the road, that's the information that we care about and we want to provide. So the distribution is a key piece as well. We need to make sure that this data gets into the hands of as many people as possible. So we use the app itself, the notifications, inbox, closures right on the map, and the live map at our website. We use social media. We do have a dedicated series of Twitter feeds for many of the cities, and they're constantly streaming anything unusual we can find so that people are alerted. Here's an example of a closure and an inbox. It's marked on the map, and users will be routed around the closure, and more details about it and when it might finish will be in your inbox. We alert people in real time as changes occur, and now importantly, the same data is seen in traffic management centers around the world so it can be used to solve those problems. Here's an example from Guatemala of an unusual traffic event. We're looking for major changes in the speed and behavior in real time, not just small changes. So if we find something where there's a drastic change, we try to correlate it to a report that we have inside of our application. In this particular case, it's an accident. You can see police there. We want people to be able to understand what's happening and why. Here's another example from Obama's visit to San Francisco. So on the live map, you can see the changing routes throughout the day. You can see user-generated photos that are coming in from our users, which provide important context for cities, but also for broadcasters and Wazers. And lastly, you'll see that there's a lot of gratitude happening in social media. So we feel like there's a real need for this kind of information, and we try our best to provide it. From the city perspective, there are 3 tangible benefits. One is on integrating the information because they don't have access to a lot, communicating with their citizen base, and then of course analyzing that information to see if there are important insights they can take away and add into their urban planning. So if we talk about the integration for a second, we need to integrate the data into their current systems. This is really key because they don't have a lot of visibility right now, except through road sensors or traffic cameras. And due to cost restrictions, these things are very expensive, they tend to be only on major roads for cities who can afford them at all. So this is a first look at extending for them the what's happening and where. Help me understand what's going on in my city. Second, they see this as a way to communicate with their citizens. And they spend a lot of money and time trying to gather this information, and they need new ways to let people know what's happening, what they're doing. So some examples here are the parade information after the New England Patriots Super Bowl victory. Due to weather, nobody knew until the last minute what time it was going to be or what the exact route was going to be, so they came to us and made sure that they were able to communicate to all of our users in Boston what the details were and keep people updated. Latvia is another good example. They have very strict rules on snow tires, and they will start fining people the day after the rules say that they need to have them on. So we were able to send a message to all of our Wazers to make sure that they were able to know exactly when they needed to have these tires put on. Latvia was very happy about this. NYPD is another partner, and recently they changed the speed limit across the entire city and needed a way to reinforce and let New Yorkers know, so they were able to use Waze for that as well. This is an example of a variable message sign. These things cost a lot of money, and many of them are just sitting there empty and blank because the data sources have been too expensive or it's been too difficult to integrate. So we're now providing these cities with travel times in real time as well as alerts, for example, snow and ice. And then thirdly, analysis has been key for our partners. Once they have this much data, they need to understand the meaning of it. And so this is an example from the Brazilian elections in Rio last year. They had two. And the first is what you're seeing here. This is Waze reports before and then during the election. So you can see that the number of reports grew by 103% just in that one day. What you're seeing on the right-hand side is every single neighborhood in Rio. The ones in red are an increase in reports, and the ones in blue are a decrease. So they were able to, for the second election, make sure that they redistributed traffic personnel in a way that made sense based on really what people were experiencing on the road. So this was a very nice example of making an improvement based on this analysis. So on average, Waze users report an accident 30 seconds after they occur. This is significantly lower than what people normally see from having to call in or even from sensors. Even in Sydney, where we don't have a huge user base, we're contributing an additional 30% of new incidents to their traffic management center, and 47% are coming in through Waze before any other mechanisms. We also have cities that are optimizing their traffic camera placement based on where accidents are happening or where congestion is happening on a changing basis. So, some other really interesting ways that people are looking at improving their cities based on data is Boston Wazers are reporting an average of 900 potholes a month, and they're committed to fixing them as a city. So this is good. You know, it's one thing to report, and it's another thing to know that you're going to report and something will be fixed. Washington, D.C. just outdid Boston with what they called Pothole Palooza. And so for 1 week, anyone who added a pothole through Waze saw that it was fixed within 48 hours. This is great government response. We have live snowplow and garbage truck feeds, so Rio has even changed their garbage collection routes based on this data. And the Kentucky DOT is letting users know when their roads have been cleared in real time so they know when they can get on the road. LA is also taking it up a notch and trying to soften their peak commute times. And it can be a difference on a commute in LA in the morning between 30 minutes and 2 hours. So they're trying to incentivize best times to leave for work using Waze data. If you leave 10 minutes earlier or later, you might save 30 minutes in the long run. And so we can now surface this information. So citizens are reporting and cities are listening. We're playing an active role in trying to turn data into better mobility. And the underlying theme we've been talking about here is really that governments have access to more data than ever before. Citizens are open to sharing and reporting, but citizens expect action. Cities have an obligation now to respond. And the most successful local governments are already using data to take action and improve mobility based on citizen communication and insights, literally taking all this data and using it as intelligent infrastructure. So, If you're a developer or a planner for a city or DOT, please join mobility leaders from around the world to share best practices in crowdsourcing, data analysis, real-time response to citizen needs, and help spread the word. Get your cities involved. Thank you so much.